Hello, welcome to Chris's quick tips for Google Sheets. Google Sheets has a number of ways to count the items in a list. In this video, I will show you a number of ways of counting the items in this list. The list includes numbers, both positive and negative and zero. There are also strings, and importantly, one of the strings also includes the other string. There is also a null string, which is a string of zero length set using equals, open quote, close quote. There is also an empty cell. There are then dates. In Google Sheets, dates are simply numbers which are formatted as dates. The first date is the number corresponding to the 20th of May 2020. I have also duplicates of some of the numbers, strings and dates. Okay, let's have a look at how we can count the items in this list. If you simply want to count the number of numbers in the list, use COUNT. This will tell you how many numbers are in the list and will not count strings or empty cells. But do be careful, because if there are any dates in the list, they will also be counted as numbers, because a date is a number which is formatted to display as a date. If you want to count the number of non-blank cells, then use the COUNTA function. The only cells that will not be counted are empty cells. Note that a cell that contains a null string, that is a string of zero length, are not considered empty since the cell contains a string, it's just that the string has zero length. If you want to count the number of blank cells, where blank means either empty or contains a null string, then use the COUNTBLANK formula. It's possible that you may want to count the exact opposite to one of these three counts. To do this, you need to know the total number of rows in the range and subtract the count. The rows function will return the number of rows and is used in the formula in each column as shown. In all cases, the count in row 4 and the count in row 24 total 14, which is the total number of items in the list. Incidentally, if you have a table that is orientated differently, the columns function will return the total number of columns in a range. There is another count function that counts the number of unique items in a list. The count will therefore not count the duplicate number or duplicate text string. It will also not count a null string or empty cells, even if there is only one of them, as is the case with this list. Duplicate dates are also not counted. Since dates are numbers formatted as dates, the COUNTUNIQUE function counts numbers that are unique. As can be seen in this list, 20th of May 2020, this is in the list 3 times. The first time as the number 43971, and then there are 2 items in the list which are both 20th of May 2020. To Google Sheet, all 3 are identical, so the COUNTUNIQUE function only counts the 20th of May 2020 once. There is another useful and more flexible counting function, COUNTIF. The criteria defines which items should be counted, and this allows a lot more flexibility in only counting the items that you want to be counted. To check if the text is exactly the same as a text string, the criteria is the text string in quotes. This text is not case sensitive. Note that this is an exact text match, apart from case sensitivity, so pineapple will not match with the criteria apple, even though apple is within pineapple. If you do want to include pineapple in your count, then you can put a star in front of apple. The star means any number of any characters in front of apple. Note that any number includes no characters at all, so that in this case, star apple will match with apple, and it also matches with pineapple since star matches with P-I-N-E. You can also use the question mark, which means there must be one character, but that character can be any character. Note, no character is not a match with question mark. So to match with pineapple, 4 question marks in front of apple will match with P-I-N-E. The match with apple is not case sensitive, shown by a capital A in the criteria, but a lowercase a in pineapple. It is also possible for the criteria to be a reference to a cell. This cell contains the criteria. Cell contents can of course be calculated, so this actually gives you the flexibility for the criteria to be calculated rather than fixed. This gives you an enormous amount of flexibility when using COUNTIF, because you can have a count that has variable criteria that is calculated from other data in your sheet. The criteria can of course be used to count only numbers that fall in a specific range. If you only want to count the number of occurrences of a specific number, then the criteria must be set to the specific number. Only numbers which are exactly the same will be counted. If you want to count all the numbers that are greater than or maybe even less than, use the greater than or less than comparison symbols. If you want the comparison to be greater than or less than or equal to, then put the equal sign after the greater than or less than sign as shown. Do not forget that dates are numbers, and if the numbers meet the criteria, then dates will also be counted. Another comparison operator is the less than sign followed by the greater than sign, which means does not equal. If you set the criteria to does not equal 456.654, you can see that the count does not include 456.654 or the empty cell. However, it's important to note that the criteria does include all the strings, even the null string. It also includes all the dates, since the date value of the dates in this list does not equal 456.654. It's also possible to use the criteria on dates. Dates are numbers formatted as dates, so you need to convert the date to a number, which can be done using the date value formula. You can also set the criteria to a cell reference. In this case, the criteria is cell J5, which contains the date 20th of May 2020, or in actual fact the cell contains the number 43971 and the cell formatting is set to date. The COUNTIF finds 3 items in the list which match the 20th of May 2020. It is important to note that this has also matched with the number 43971, which is the date value of 20th of May 2020. If you want to find all the dates after or before a specific date, then you can use the greater than or less than operators. Note that if you do this, the criteria is a string, so you need to set the criteria to a string with the required greater than or less than within quotes, and then use the ampersand sign to join the comparison string to a string with the date value of the required date. It may also be useful to note that if you set the criteria to a null string, then the null string matches both a null string and also an empty cell. The COUNTIFS function gives you even more control over whether or not each item in the list should be included. Each of the ranges in the COUNTIFS must contain the same number of rows. Each row is considered as an item. So for an item or row to be included in the count, the row must meet all the criteria specified by all the criteria. In this case, the COUNTIFS checks if column A is the text date, and if column C is the numerical value of 43971. The number 43971 is not counted because cell A19 is the text number. So this does not meet the criteria of equaling date. However, cells C20 and C21 do meet the criteria because they are both 20th of May 2020, which has a numerical value of 43971. Since these rows both have the column A equal to date, these two items meet both the criteria in the COUNTIFs, so they are both counted.